Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Fitri, and we are from Group 7. In this opportunity, we are going to talk about technical translation. And for more deeper understanding about the topic, let's get to the materials. And the first material will be explained by Shandra. Times, it's yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurfajriyah Az-Zahra and my student's number is 2021222050. Now, I will explain about the introduction of technical translation, technical style, terms and varieties of technical style. Introduction. According to Newmark, technical translation is one part of specialized translation. Institutional translation, the area of politics, commerce, finance, government, etc. It is primarily distinguished from other forms of translation by terminology. Technical style. Technical translation is usually free from emotive language, connotations, sound effects, and original metaphor if its non-technical language is popularized. In addition, part of good technical translator's job often consists in rephrasing poorly written language and converting metaphors to sense. Terms. The central difficulty in technical translation is usually the new terminology. Thus, the best approach to an opaquely technical text is to underline its key terms and then look them up in the micro of the Encyclopedia Britannica. The main problem is likely to be that of some technical neologisms in the source language which are relatively context-free and appear only once. For example, if in an article about alcoholic cirrhosis, the translator finds a term of a fairly common form of treatment, but it is not explained in detail, then the translator can translate that term as a mixture of drugs which is still being administered and is still being debated. Contrary to popular belief, BSI or British Standards Institution standardized term may have more than one meaning in one field, as well as in two or more fields. For example, to sort out may mean to examine individually, examiner, or to separate, trier. Varieties of technical style. Paepke has distinguished four varieties of technical language. First, scientific, for example, chambre de congélation, which means freezing chamber. Second, workshop level, for example, compartiment réfrigérateur, which means fridge compartment. Third, everyday usage level, for example, congélateur, which means deep freeze. And four, publicity or sales, for example, freezer as a French word. However, this scale is likely to be valid only for one or two terms in a few fields. Meanwhile, Newmark distinguished technical language, namely medical vocabulary, into three levels. First, academic, which includes transferred Latin and Greek words associated with academic papers. For example, Plagmesia albatolens. Second, professional, namely formal terms used by experts. For example, epidemic perioditis, varicella, scarlatina, or tetanus. Third, popular, namely layman vocabulary, which may include familiar alternative terms. For example, mumps, chickenpox, scarlet fever, stroke, or lockjaw. These are general categories to which it's often arbitrary to assign one or another term.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurazizah. My student's number is 2021222072. Now I will explain the next material about technical and descriptive terms, beginning technical translation and translation method. Technical and descriptive terms. The original SL writer may use a descriptive term for a technical object for three reasons. The first is the object is new and has not yet got a name. The second is the descriptive term is being used as a familiar alternative to avoid repetition. The third is the descriptive term is being used to make a contrast with another one. If the SL descriptive term is being used either because of the SL writer's ignorance or negligence or because the appropriate technical term does not exist in the SL, any particular event object strange to the SL but not to the TL culture is being referred to, then you are justified in translating a descriptive by a technical term. A technical term is always more precise than a descriptive term. Whilst the technical term may be a translator's fine and will help to acclimatize the professional reader, it is a mistake to invariably prefer it, bearing in mind that the descriptive term in the SL text may serve other communicative purposes. Next material is beginning technical translation. When you translate a text, you have to be able to stand back and understand roughly what is happening in real life, not just or as well as convincing yourself that the sentence you have just translated makes sense linguistic. Even though much scientific and technological language and terminology can be translated literally, you have to check the present validity in the register and dialect of the terms you use. In a word, to translate a text, you do not have to be an expert in its technology or its topic, but you have to understand that text and know the vocabulary it uses. The last is translation method. Folkart recommends a think-bound approach which appears at times to be independent of the Excel text. Her examples are close translation modified by TL syntactic constraints, appropriate explanatory reference. When you approach a technical text, you read it first to understand it, and then to assess its nature, its degree of formality, its intention, the possible cultural and professional differences between your readership and the original one. Okay, that's all from me. The next material will be explained by my partner. Thank you.
Title. As a translator, you are entitled to change the title of your text. All titles are either descriptive or allusive in a non-literary text. A descriptive title that succinctly names the subject and states its purpose is appropriate. Allusive titles are suitable for more imaginative literature and popular journalism and may have to be changed. The title of the SL article is often too long by English standards, and the general word utilization is the best slightly shift in translation to application simply on the ground that utilization is more commonly applied to substance than processes. General words are not uncommonly shifted in this way. Going through the text. You should read the article through and underline all words and structures that appear to contain problems. This may include, first, unfamiliar, apparently transparent words with Greek or Latin morphemes. In this extract, for instance, radio elements leucine, photo URC, photocathode radioluminescence have to be checked since translators of technical text must not reproduce neologisms unless they admit it with inverted commas, if not an footnote. 2. Figures and symbols. These have to be checked for TL equivalence in order the innumeracy of some arts graduates can be gathered by the fact that initially they simply copy figures and symbols unthinkingly into their versions. 3. Words of the type represents MS1 outsider means porter de nom de phénomène au synonym de dans les cadres de semi-empty words which are likely to be reduced to is or in, etc. in the TL version. 4. Verbs such as aceuter, permim de and insider obliger impressor poster, which more often than not require a recasting of the TL sentence, For example, organic samples and a sophisticated equipment have to be prepared for the technique one, or with the help of this technique, which is relative recent, various forms metabolism can be investigated, or using this technique various forms of metabolism can be investigated. And the last one is plant words one, such as irritamine, processing of results. See, whereas some attractive discounting technique has its extractions, but its application is extremely difficult. Even coincidence, which here is the appropriate technical term in English and French, and measuring or measurement rather than measure or moderation one. Conclusion: a technical translation is so varied in topic and often diverse in register and so badly written that it is not easy to make helpful generalizations about it, and it spills over into diagrams, graph illustration, photographs, figures, formulae, etc. It is absurd to maintain that the SL formulation of the text is relatively unimportant and not necessarily just if it is poorly. Foucault's statement, like many absurd ones, is a remedy corrective to superficial translations, not necessarily translationist, and encouragement to greater explicitness than you find in the original. So that's all from our group. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.